Hi people, this is really serious and it's very, very important. This is a government consultation. You need to take part in it. Yes, it is. Really, they want health professionals to take part in this consultation. It's not been very widely promoted. Anybody can take part in it. We are a democracy, and the British people, we have a right to have our say, because according to them, our silence means consent. So basically I'll leave the link to this, and what you're going to find is this. The consultation now closes on 18th of September 2020. It was originally due to close on the 20th of September 2020, but now they've moved it forward to 18th, so you've only got 2 days, right? It closes at 11:59 p.m. on the 18th of September, so you've got until midnight on the 18th of September, so you're going to have to get your skates on, get it shared around as much as you can. I've only just found out about it, so you know it's being kept very quiet, but there's a couple of documents here. The most important one you need to read is this. When you have read the document, you go back to this page and then you can respond online, and you'll be asked a series of questions. It doesn't take long, you can keep it simple with your comments, but please do have your say on this. So first of all, this is the main document really that you need to be reading, and it is abominable. That's what it is. It is abominable. It's outrageous. It is actually criminal. I would go so far as to say it is criminal what they are proposing. What they're talking about is rolling out a mandatory, unlicensed vaccination that will be authorised for use by the licence authority. So the authority in Britain that normally grants a licence for vaccines to be used in, say, Britain's NHS or any other treatment, and that licensing body will have a look at the vaccine, and they will have to take into account testing, the rigour of testing and blah. They want to see this study, that study to prove it's safe, or if there are any side effects, are the, how bad are the side effects, how serious is the illness, are the side effects negligible, or are the side effects going to be worse than the illness itself? You see, that's the whole point why you have licensed products. And even with licensed products, there can still be problems. Okay. Now, in this instance, we're talking about a vaccine that is basically using new biotechnology. We're talking about CRISPR gene editing vaccines that actually re-edit your immune system. So, we're talking about potentially very serious effects. Already in test studies on humans using this type of CRISPR technology, one treatment did actually... sorry, I got slightly interrupted there. So, there was one study that was done using these this CRISPR-type treatment, and basically 1/4 of the test subjects, twice, because they repeated the whole thing to be sure, twice, 1/4 of the test subjects developed leukemia. Now, COVID-19 is not a threat. There is no risk that 1/4 of the UK population are going to die from COVID-19. The threat, the real threat, generally, is 0.4% at most, going down to 0.2, 0.1. When it comes to children, 0.001%. Okay? So, if they roll out an experimental vaccine that has the potential to deliver adverse effects to 1% of the population perhaps kill 0.4% of the population through those adverse effects, then actually you might as well just take your chances with the virus, because the vaccine isn't any more efficient. You know, it's offering no level of safety, and this is what we need to understand. If you're going to be vaccinating millions of people and there's a 1% risk, that risk is higher than the risk of COVID-19. Or it's the same as COVID-19 if it was at its worst. You know, if the majority of the British population were, you know, over 60 with underlying health conditions. So none of it makes sense, and that's why my alarm bells are ringing, because this just smacks of eugenics, new world order, depopulation. Why are they insisting on vaccinating us? Suppose a quarter of the population did all suddenly drop dead, start dropping with leukemia. Boris Johnson will just stand there and lie, won't he? They'll all just stand there lying to us. No, it's not the vaccine. No, you're a conspiracy theorist. Oh, you've got mental health problems because you've got COVID. Because apparently, even people who are just walking around, no symptoms, nothing, but they're testing positive for COVID-19, apparently their mental health is impaired. They don't realise it. You see, what we're dealing with now, it's basically just smoke and mirrors. You know, it's like, they can say anything. They can say anything. You know, even meningitis symptoms now are a sign of COVID-19, you see. Kidney problems, sign of COVID-19. Heart problems, COVID-19. Apparently, any illness that you can think of, they are now discovering is a symptom of COVID-19. But it is what they plan to do. And the idea that the licensing authority for Britain can authorise an unlicensed product to which nobody has any liability down any chain of the supply, creation, administration, you name it. Nobody is liable. Because we're in the middle of a pandemic, and it's the best way to deal with the pandemic. You know, usually any vaccine must first go through the usual rigorous testing, but it won't be the usual rigorous testing. That's why the licensing authority won't be giving it a licence. But nonetheless, authorising its use under emergency protocols. Because we're dealing with the pandemic, and therefore, you know, millions of people could die. Well, we know that is not true. We know that's not the case. You go and look at Sweden. Sweden is the example. Are Swedish people made differently from British people? Is there something different about them to us? When we look what we've already suffered, when we look at the level, the quality of life that we've had since Boris Johnson allegedly got re-elected, you know, got elected into office last December. Our quality of life, what quality of life have we had? We've been battered psychologically, emotionally battered. And children and women, so how many people have been suffering domestic violence? Suicide rates gone up 100%. Unemployment is skyrocketing. It's absolutely it's outrageous. The lockdowns have killed more people than COVID-19, shutting down our NHS. Here they're talking about using the military as well. Here, make short-term provisions for wholesale dealing of COVID-19 and flu vaccines, because, you know, you're going to have them all together mandatory. And treatments for pandemic diseases in the case that the vaccine treatment needs to be moved under NHS or armed services. Authorised arrangements between premises at the end of the supply chain by NHS and armed services providers of care that do not hold wholesaler dealers' licences. So there's no licences anywhere along the chain, and they can't even write their consultation report properly. This is from the government. I mean, and so, you know, they go on and on about liability and blah blah blah, and regulation 174, okay, but then they're talking about who's going to deliver the vaccines. So because they're going to need so many people, you know, all the people now they've left with no jobs. Hey, come on people, jobs. You can come and be a vaccinator. Vaccinators who are not registered healthcare professionals. Because they're talking about workforce expansion, okay? It will also be apparent in what we say about workforce expansion that someone other than a registered healthcare professional may actually be administering unlicensed vaccines. As a basic issue of fairness, we think they should benefit from the same immunity from civil liability as a registered healthcare professional who is performing the same role, if the person who is not a healthcare professional is following one of the proposed new protocols. So basically, anybody. Turn up your door, perhaps with military to escort you, because you're saying no. Sorry, it's mandatory. Military, come on. This is like 1984 on steroids, and it is crazy. We have to wake up. I don't care how worried people are. The BBC stirring up its medical xenophobia, all the mainstream media. Boris Johnson playing devil's advocate. Oh no, let it run through the herd. Look, it's ran through the herd. By now, it's ran through the herd. We, human beings, we're not cattle, okay? We have a right. We have a right to make an informed choice based on informed decisions. We have a right to say, no, I'll take my risk. I'll take my chances with the virus. We have a right to do that. No government has a right to force people to have an experimental vaccine, and especially not one that messes about with our DNA. No. We have a right to say no. We do not know what damages it will do. We do not know, we have no guarantee, no assuredness that that vaccine will not be far more damaging to our health than COVID-19 or any other virus, any other coronavirus. This is absolutely outrageous. And it just can't pass. So please read through it, people. You'll see exactly. It just gets more and more horrific as you read through it. Powers of enforcement, military, vaccinators who are not registered healthcare professionals. An unlicensed vaccine that's been authorised by the licence provider. So, you know, why can't the licence provider give a licence to the vaccine? Because then the licence provider would be liable. Because anybody damaged by it would be able to prove that the licence provider had licensed a product that had not been through the usual rigorous testing and protocols. And they don't want the licence provider to be liable. Because if the licence provider is going to be liable, then everybody's going to have to be liable, aren't they? Are we really going to swallow this? Are you really that terrified of COVID-19? Are you not more scared of what is really going on when we've got top eugenicist, depopulation man Bill Gates at the helm of all this? Literally got the World Health Organization in his back pocket. The Bill Gates Foundation behind every single one, virtually, of these people making the vaccine. And as I say, I will leave you the link about that treatment with CRISPR. I will leave you the link so you check it out, people. This is serious. This is a time when you stand up for your human rights. You know, they're trying to say that anybody asking questions, oh, we're all anti-vaxxers, or we're all Trump supporters, we're all mad, crazy, Breitbart readers. We're not. We're people from all walks of life. This is where we all need to lose the divides. There's only one divide in this world. Do you stand up for your human rights or not? Right? That's the divide. Do you stand up for your human rights? I stand up for your and my human rights. And that includes children's rights. That we have a right to choose to make an informed decision about our health and our bodies. Okay? If you want to choose to have a vaccine, I'll share the information with you to help you understand if the BBC are lacking and the government's lying to you, leading you astray. Okay? I will share the information, but ultimately it's your choice whether you have the vaccine or not. It's my choice whether I have the vaccine or not. You see? That's how it works. The people who get the vaccine, they've got nothing to fear from the unvaccinated, have they? Because they've had the vaccine, right? So they can't say, oh, you're going around spreading COVID-19, because if there's a vaccine there and everybody, the bulk of people or whoever wants it, if they've got it, then they've got nothing to complain about the people who said, no, we're not having it. I don't like it. I don't like the people controlling our country right now. I don't trust them. They're a set of liars and criminals. I don't like what's going on in the world right now. I don't like this corporate takeover. It feels like a set of thugs have taken over our country, are taking over our planet with their thuggish technology. They just want to roll out 5G despite the fact that there is evidence, scientific evidence, that tells us that it's unsafe, that it has an adverse effect on humans' health, on plants, trees' health, even, you know, insects and birds, other creatures' health. Bees, for example, that are already struggling. But no, we're not going to go through the usual tests. As they've said, we're not going through all the usual tests and legislations. We're not waiting years for all that. We're just going to roll it out. And that's the same with this vaccine, isn't it? This is dangerous. We are at a very dangerous point. And I'm sorry, the technocrats, you are not you are technomaniacs. And we literally, when it comes to making profits out of all of this, we're talking about what? Biotechnocratic cannibalism of humanity. This is really, really dangerous. Proposed expansion to the workforce eligible to administer vaccinations. We can't do this. Vaccine promotion. How can they promote? How can the government promote, or any health professional promote, an unlicensed vaccine? Experimental. Because these gene editing vaccines are experimental vaccines. It's experimental technology. So, you know, there's one doctor that has read through this, and he has actually responded. You see, it was originally for Sunday, or was it Monday? I think they've got it wrong, 20th of September, but they've knocked 2 days off it all of a sudden. Oh, now it's the 18th of September. So you're going to have to get your skates on, people. And this is from none other than former Vice President Pfizer and founder of Ziarco, Dr. Michael Yeardon. Okay? Now, it tells you what the letter is in here, and this, I'm going to leave you this link, but I'm going to read it from this Facebook post, because it's being put very succinctly here, shared by Stuart Russell. But I will leave you the other link, because it's basically showing you this letter, but the way that it's written in this article, it's a bit convoluted and they put headlines and stuff. It's, you know, it isn't as easy to read out loud as it is here, you see. So, an open letter, I don't know why they've stuck that there so I can't read. An open letter from a doctor working at medical pharma, R&D, because that's the type of vaccination. Dear Mr. Hancock, I have a degree in biochemistry and toxicology and a research-based PhD in pharmacology. I've spent 32 years working in pharmaceutical R&D, mostly in new medicines for disorders of lung and skin. I was a VP at Pfizer and CEO of biotech. I founded Ziarco, acquired by Novartis. I'm knowledgeable about the new medicine R&D. I have read the consultation document. I've rarely been as shocked and upset. All vaccines against the SARS-CoV-2 virus are by definition novel. No candidate vaccine has been in development for more than a few months. If any such vaccine is approved for use under any circumstances that are not explicitly experimental, I believe that recipients are being misled to a criminal extent. This is because there are precisely 0 human volunteers for whom there could possibly be more than a few months past dose safety information. My concern does not arise because I have negative views about vaccines. I don't. Instead, it's the very principle that politicians seem ready to waive that new medical interventions at this incomplete state of development should not be made available to subjects on anything other than explicitly experimental basis. That's my concern. And the reason for that concern is that it is not known what the safety profile will be 6 months or a year or longer after closing. You have literally no data on this, and neither does anyone else. It isn't that I'm saying that unacceptable adverse effects will emerge after longer intervals after dosing. No, it's that you have no idea what will happen yet. Despite this, you'll be creating the impression that you do. Several of the vaccine candidates utilise novel technology which have not previously been used to create vaccines. They've been used in treatments for humans with adverse effects. There is therefore no long-term safety data which can be pointed to in support of the notion that it's reasonable to expedite development to waive absent safety information on this occasion. I am suspicious of the motives of those proposing expedited use in the wider human population. We now understand who is at particularly elevated risk of morbidity and mortality from acquiring this virus. Volunteers from these groups should only be provided with detailed information about risk, benefit, including the sole point I make here. Only if informed consent is given should any experimental capital letters vaccine be used. And he goes on to say, I don't trust you. You have not been straightforward and have behaved appallingly throughout this crisis. You're still doing it now. Misleading about infection risk from young children, which it is terrible. Young children are not shown to carry the disease or spread it or anything, and what they've been doing is really disgusting. Why should I believe you in relation to experimental vaccines? Dr. Michael Yeardon. So, you know, and as I say, this is the letter that has been shared here by Matthew Bell. We are talking about an experimental vaccine. We are talking about an unlicensed vaccine. We're talking about non-medical professionals, lay people, giving you these vaccines. We're talking about it being mandatory. forced. We're talking about inclusion of the military. And the two articles I'm going to leave, the other two articles I'm going to be leaving underneath this link, or underneath this video. As I say, they're both of them about CRISPR, and this was a treatment. This, in all the animal experiments that they've used them on so far, it's caused cancers, it's caused worse reactions to other flu viruses, it's caused worse reactions and even fatalities to the virus they've been injected against. This is a very, very new experimental technology, just like 5G. But in fact, even more new and experimental than that. Right? We are talking the risk of serious adverse events, and afterwards, I tell you, they'll all be there. No, it's not the vaccine, or even if it is, what can you do when you're really sick? I don't like this. This is, to me, it's 1984 on steroids, and look, we're going to have to lose the political divisions. It's all an illusion anyway. They're all being in the same part. It is no coincidence that Trump and Johnson virtually just mirrored each other in saying, let it run through the herd. And our news medias mirrored each other in saying, oh no, we need a lockdown. Come on people, don't we need a lockdown? Yeah. And you look at Sweden. Look at Sweden. There's ways of dealing with things far more humanely, even than Sweden did. Because, you know, if I was Prime Minister of this country and something like this, the first thing I'd do is make sure everybody had a supply of vitamin D3, and they'd all be having vitamin D3 and 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C with it. I would be advising people to cut out sugar. I would be restricting sugar sales in the shops, because sugar lowers your immunity. I will leave you a link. It's a well-known fact what sugar does. It lowers your immunity because your body absorbs the sugar. Your white cells absorb the sugar instead of vitamin C. Vitamin C destroys viruses. Vitamin D3 boosts your system. That would have been the first thing that I would have done. And the social distancing and everything else, I would leave it up to the people. Look, it's up to you. Just be aware that this is spreading. We don't quite know what it's going to do. If you feel you're at risk, stay at home. We'll pay your wages for you if you've got to stay at home for a couple of weeks. Testing, yes, we're going to test people. By the way, people, we can only test to tell you that you've got a coronavirus. It might mean you've got COVID-19, it might mean you've just got a common cold, but either way, because of the risk, we're asking you to stay in quarantine if you test positive. Doesn't mean that you've definitely got COVID-19, might mean you've just got a cold or another strain of flu from the coronavirus family. But either way, you know, play it straight with people. Give people the full information. No, nursing homes, sorry, hospitals, no, you can't send people who are sick back into nursing homes because of the elderly at most at risk. We're going to have to protect them as they are every winter from every other kind of flu. So we're going to have to close down now the nursing homes. The elderly who are in hospital, because they're going to have to stay in hospital. We're going to have to close them wards off. You see, there's ways of doing things other than most of the world has done. And that's why some people are calling it a pandemic. The other thing that we know for a fact, and everybody needs to get this straight once and for all, this same virus was being worked on in America. Okay? American labs were proven unsafe because stuff was leaking out of it. Okay? So what America did was they set up another company. Was it Eco Health or something? I'll leave you the link. You check it. This is solid information. Wuhan, and they took it to China. It was China and America together, American funding, working in Wuhan on this very virus. That's SARS-CoV-2. They were working to give it gain of function so that it could infect humans. Right? That is what they were working on at Wuhan, America and China. So, no, it isn't a bioterrorist weapon from China. America was directly involved in it. And if this has come from a lab, then, you know, I think that we as a species need to demand compensation now. But no, the criminals, they go from strength to strength, don't they? From, you know, leaking out these deadly viruses, and then next minute, you know, they want to give us all a deadly, potentially deadly experimental vaccine. So, you know, like I say, look, people, we cannot accept this. We just cannot accept it. This level of risk is unacceptable. When we think that at its worst, COVID-19 is what, a 0.4% risk. You know, actually, it is proven already that it is no more of a risk really than regular flu. In fact, it's less of a risk to children and young people than regular flu. Regular flu kills more children and young people than COVID-19. You know, and I know I lost my baby sister to flu when she was 2 years old. Very healthy child. She didn't have any underlying health conditions. She died of complications from getting flu. Pneumonia. Okay? So, please people, please, you know, we do need, you need to take part in this. I'll leave you the link. You click on that, and then you go back to this page. You know, do it, you know, if you do a left click, open it in a new tab. When you've read it, you can have a look through that. That's mostly about the medicines and the statutory laws and what have you, regulations. But you can have a look at that. That's the main document you need to read. And then ways to respond. You respond online. And you share this. You share this page. You've got 2 days. Well, you've got, yeah, 2 days, because it's the 16th today, 17th and 18th, till 12 o'clock midnight on the 18th. After 12 o'clock midnight on the 18th, that's it, it's done. It's closed. So please, share it everywhere and answer. Explain to them that, no, I have human rights. This is a criminal act to threaten us with rollout, mandatory vaccination of an experimental vaccine that is unlicensed and even being delivered by non-health professionals. And, you know, people who are being offered jobs to do this in Britain, it's only going to be a temporary job, isn't it? It's put money in your pocket today. But what's going to be happening to us tomorrow? I'm sorry, we can't go on like this. We just can't. I am very, very suspicious. And my suspicion alert is all I can say, people. Suspicion alert.